I will now turn to my Ranking Member Whitehouse for his statement.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and welcome, Secretary Duffy. It's good to have you here. A strong bipartisan commitment to infrastructure got us the historic Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. Last week, I attended the unveiling of the American Society of Civil Engineers 2025 Infrastructure Report Card. We are not A students yet, but the report card shows progress, thanks to both the bipartisan infrastructure law and the Inflation Reduction Act, which are delivering real results across the country. At the start of the Biden administration, our infrastructure was crumbling from decades of neglect. 46,000 bridges were in poor condition. More than 170,000 miles of major roads were in poor condition. We had unreliable and insufficient transit systems. The bipartisan infrastructure law began turning this around with long overdue investments in roads, bridges, transit, ports, drinking water, wastewater, and other systems that are the backbone of our nation's economy. We see this progress in Rhode Island's bridges. We've gone from 27% structurally deficient in 2016 to 12% in 2025. Like I said, not A students, but progress. And the bipartisan infrastructure law brought nearly 100 projects closer to completion in Rhode Island alone. As we think about the future of transportation and other infrastructure projects, it's incumbent on us to address a big obstacle: unreasonable delays. China builds high-speed rail, airports, and ports at warp speed while we tread water. Even France, long lampooned for embodying bureaucracy, builds subway and rail projects faster and at less cost than we do. Delays take many forms. There's permitting, and I'm thrilled to work with Chairman Capito on permitting reform. There's bureaucracy, and as I've mentioned many times before, we have to manage this interagency process monster better. To be clear, I and many of my colleagues rode the Biden administration hard about delays of infrastructure and other projects. This is actually very often a legislative versus executive separation of powers issue in which the executive branch hides behind interagency process, all sorts of delay, irresponsibility, non-accountability, and bad execution. We should take our oversight responsibility seriously no matter who is in the White House. The most recent spate of delays affecting infrastructure projects is the Trump freeze of infra, mega, bridge investment, and protect funding. Thousands of projects are backed up so they can be screened for DEI or other mega heresies by rattled and shrunken agencies. I want to start by thanking Chair Capito and her staff for helping unstick previously awarded funding for Rhode Island's essential Washington Bridge. Madam Chair, thank you. Secretary Duffy, I also want to thank you for your team's work delivering the funding for a number of discretionary grants in the past week, including those Washington Bridge funds. It's a crucial project, as you know, not just for Rhode Island, but for the region. It's where you turn to head out towards the Cape. It's a key hub. I hope that we can rapidly deliver previously awarded funding for the array of I-95 bridges that need the work and for the Mount Hope Bridge, which I want to show because setting aside how important it is as a piece of transit infrastructure, it's also gorgeous. I mean, it's one of the most beautiful bridges in the country. It's 100 years old. We can extend its life. We need to get this done. As I said in our call, Secretary, and as the Chair knows, I'm eager to work on bipartisan permitting reform, and the scoping conversation with our colleagues at the Energy Committee has already begun. I'm eager to do a robust bipartisan water resources bill and a robust bipartisan highway reauthorization. These three bills could be big, and they could be transformational, but I can't do any of that while the Trump administration blockades authorized and appropriated funds for approved projects, particularly if it blockades selectively. And I can't do that if the Trump administration violates its duty to see that bipartisan laws we pass are executed faithfully, not with favoritism. So, Mr. Secretary, the door is open in this committee to big bipartisan things for our infrastructure, and I encourage you to walk through that open door. If I may just revert to one other topic for a moment. I addressed last week the mischief and the nonsense that has surrounded the Green Infrastructure Fund. And we've seen Senator Sullivan's a former Attorney General. I'm a former Attorney General. I'm a former U.S. Attorney. When you're firing career staff who disagree with you, when you're proceeding with only political signatures without any career staff who will sign, when you're getting shot down in one court and told there's no evidence for what you're saying in another court, and you're still sending FBI agents around to harass employees, and particularly when you're making derogatory accusations of fraud and criminality, which Administrator Zeldin has done, first, it's a violation of DOJ process. Second, as a matter of law, it's defamatory per se, and it appears from the rejection by the career staff, the rejection by the magistrate judge, and the finding of no evidence by the federal judge that this was a knowingly defamatory set of statements made by the EPA administrator and that acting U.S. attorney. We're going to continue to drill down into that piece of misconduct, and I will simply ask for the moment that the article today, EPA hunt for shady deals and gold bars comes up empty, be made a matter of record for this,
Without
in this
objection.
hearing. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.